Hi parents, hi Utahns. We're Richard and Linda Eyre. We'd like to think we represent parents in some ways, and we're concerned about this voucher issue.
You know, we want to show you an interesting demonstration here. This interesting collection of Oreo cookies represents kids in a classroom, 30 kids in a classroom.
What do you notice first? There's too many of them. Our Utah classrooms are way too stuffed. We have the highest classroom size of any state in America, and frankly, as teachers will tell you, 30 students in a classroom is way too many.
And not only that, we spend approximately $7,000 on each child.
So let's have a cookie for each $1,000. There's our $7,000 tax money that's being spent for each pupil. Sounds like a lot, $7,000, but guess where that ranks in the nation?
Last.
Dead last. We spend less on each student of any state in America.
It's because we have so many students. So what can we do? How can we increase the quality of our children's education?
Now, we could raise taxes enormously. I mean, the amount of tax hike it would take to get this up to $10,000 a student or whatever we think it ought to be is just impossible. Our demographics in Utah just make it impossible to spend very much more money per pupil. So the only way to get better is to get more efficient and more competitive and more innovative, and that's where vouchers come in.
What we have to do is just be creative as parents and figure out how we can solve this problem to lower class size and yet increase the money that our kids are getting that are in the public schools.
One of the things that bothers us is that the opponents of vouchers are trying to frame the issue as though it was public schools versus private schools. We don't think so at all. In fact, we're for the voucher idea because it strengthens our public schools. Let me show you how it works. Here's our 30 kids. Now this kid, let's say this is a poor kid. He's from a poor family. He gets a voucher of $3,000. That's the maximum. That's the most any voucher would be. And his parents decide to send him over here to go to a private school. Now, the average cost of private schools in Utah is only $3,800. They're a little more efficient in some ways. But he takes the maximum voucher, goes to the private school. Look at this. There's $4,000 still left in this public classroom. It can be allocated among the kids who are still there. So now the amount we're spending per pupil is going up, and the class just got a little smaller. Now, Linda, what if a rich, a more wealthy family decides they want to send?
I think they only get about $500, which is a half a cookie. So you break one of those in half and send him off to a private
That's all
school.
he gets. He's from a wealthy family. He gets a token voucher, and he decides to go off and go to the private school. Look at this. He leaves $6,500 in the public classroom. He's not there anymore. These two students are gone. It's down to 28. So Linda, let's give each of these other kids a little more money, maybe some extra books, maybe some extra computers, maybe even a raise for the teachers. That's one thing we'd all be for. What's happening to our classroom? It's getting smaller. There's only 28 kids left. What's happening to the money we have per pupil? It's going up. That's the trend we want.
Now, I know that many of you are very confused about this, and you're confused on purpose because the NEA has sent in $3 million to kind of set up some smoke screens so it sounds confusing because why?
Well, they'd like you to believe that this is a complicated issue. They'd like to say, well, why not just spend our money on the public schools? Why send any of it off to the private schools? They're missing the whole point. Even the kid with the biggest voucher, the most he ever takes out is $3,000. He leaves $4,000 there, and he's not there anymore. There is simply no other way to look at it. It increases the amount of money per pupil, and it lowers the class size. We've got to stay away. You make a good point, Linda. Those who are against vouchers are essentially against competition. They don't want to see this innovation that might make them have to work a little. Now, don't get me wrong. Linda would correct me in a hurry on this. We have 9 children. How many have gone to public schools?
All have gone to public schools. And we've had a great experience with, let's see, we've had about 400 teachers.
We've had over 400 public school teachers.
And I think 80 of them have been fabulous. I mean, not all fabulous, but very good teachers, some fabulous. But then on the other end, there are some that you just think, what am I going to do with my child? How am I going to get him out of this classroom?
And if you've been in that situation, you know you have no options. That teacher will be there forever. In a voucher system, about the time the third or fourth kid moves out and says, I don't like that teacher, I'm taking my voucher and going over here, that teacher, that one rare, not so good public school teacher may lose a job. That's what the teachers union's worried about. I'm not worried about it. I think she should lose her job. And the teachers who are good should have more money per pupil and a higher salary, and that's what vouchers will do for us.
It's quite amazing to think that, I know they're worried about accountability and so on, but our private schools that we have now are mostly outstanding. I don't know of any private schools that aren't, but I don't know all of them either. But the point is, they do a great job. They take these kids, and sometimes problem kids, because they can deal with their problems better in a smaller setting, and they leave more money for these other kids that are in the public school.
Well, they do, Linda, and the whole point of it is that I'm a parent, and I am the steward over my children, and Linda's a parent, and we're the ones most qualified to make the decision on where our children go to school. I think that giving parents the choice of whether they use the voucher or leave their kids in the public schools, the vast majority will leave them in the public schools, and because of vouchers, they'll have a little more money and a little lower class size. Let's get together as parents. This is not about private schools versus public. This is about parents having the choice or leaving all the choices with the teachers union and the school bureaucracy. We're the parents, you're the parents. Let's vote for Referendum 1.